Welcome to the VarsityKansas.com Big Show. I am Joanna Chadwick of the Wichita Eagle and VarsityKansas.com, and we are here today with Collegiate tennis coach Dave Hawley. Coach, thanks for being here.
Happy to be here.
Well, let's talk a little bit about tennis. I mean, it's actually raining today. We're taping here at the Wichita Eagle on a Monday, and which hasn't happened. You've had some great weather. How has the start of the season been going so far?
I think it's exciting. I think there's a lot of good tennis out there. The weather so far has cooperated, and I think today is actually going to turn out okay, which is nice. So everybody seems to have good teams, and it's been a lot of fun so far.
Well, let's talk about your team and kind of what you expect from them and who is standing out.
Well, we have kind of an interesting team, a lot of young talent that's still kind of figuring out how good they are. We're deeper, I think, right now than maybe we were a year ago. A lot of kids have invested a lot of time, really worked hard in the offseason to get better. But there's a lot of good level of tennis that will test us, and seems like a lot of other teams have also gotten better, and makes for a really good test down the end of the road.
Talk about your singles. I mean, who are you looking to lead you there?
I've got three kids I think that are really going to kind of be forerunners for us. Easton Avey, who finished third in the state a year ago, and is just a really, really solid kid. Has just gotten better. I've got another sophomore named Matt Regier, who is probably the most improved kid we had over the course of the year. He worked very hard on his game over the winter. I saw him for the first time when practice started, and I was amazed. Now, he's got some things to grow through, but his stroke production is so much better. Very pleased with that. And then I've got a freshman named Lakeland Conrad, who won the state cross-country meet by lunging over the finish line, and he is no stranger to hard work. In fact, he's actually doubling. He's running track as well. So one thing I don't have to worry about with Lakeland is being in shape. I mean, he won't be fatigued in a match, and he's got great potential for down the road as well, too.
We'll talk about the doubles then. I know that's do you try to figure that out early, or do you try to figure that out later in the season?
Well, early, and sometimes it provides for some interesting moments. I do have an interesting trivia thing. We haven't won a singles title at Collegiate in boys tennis since 1996.
Wow.
Which is 19 years going on this year. So I'm ready for us to have one here in the near future. But doubles has been one of those things where we've been able to put together some talents, some kids who really like that style of game, maybe a little bit more aggressive. And I think we have 6 or 7 kids in that particular mix right now, a lot of them younger. But I have a senior named Mubashir Kareem who has really been doing some nice things and is a steadying process. 2 juniors that went to state a year ago, Sam Lair and Andrew Murphy. And then I have some sophomores, Austin Gartner, Ben Murphy, who have really kind of worked very, very hard to get their game in shape. So I think out of those kids, we're going to end up with 2 really nice teams.
Talk a little bit about regionals and state and so on. One of the issues that we see consistently through whatever sport it might be is that you're going to have problems with splitting up the state because so much of it is based on geography. And so we see that happening now. Coach and I were talking a little bit before we started the show that last year in the fall in 3-2-1-8, the girls was very difficult because so many of those same kids who were some of the top talent in the state were in the same regional. 5A is looking at a similar situation right now. How frustrating is that to see maybe some of the top talent not get to state?
Well, I think it's frustrating for the kids. It's frustrating for the coaches, and it kind of is cyclical in one respect because sometimes it's 5A, sometimes it's 4A, sometimes it's 3A. It's always 6A up in the Kansas City area. That regional is always so loaded that really quality kids don't make it in, and it becomes an issue that, okay, are you really crowning? You might be crowning your state champion legitimately, but are you really crowning your second and third and fourth best teams? In the fall, our girls regional was so strong that the top 5 teams ranking wise came out of our regional, and none of them finished except for us finished in the top 3, and that becomes a little bit of an issue about how can you do that so that your end result really reflects the fact that, okay, these were the best kids. And everybody's got an idea from time to time, but sometimes it's a little bit difficult to put those on paper and make something work.
Coach, you also mentioned that 36 of the 42 in 5A, 36 of the top finishers in 5A a year ago are in the same regional
Well, the
now.
schools that produce those 36 are all lumped together, and that's, I think, going to be frustrating for them when they come down to that, all of a sudden, these 36 spots are now going to be parsed down to 18, and that makes everywhere else, is good for everywhere else. It's not necessarily good for those particular people.
So how can this be fixed?
Well, I've thought. My, I guess, tennis dying moment would be to see a new format where we don't have regionals, where we just have a state tournament. And every school is told beforehand, you're going to be able to enter 6 kids, 2 singles, 2 doubles teams. You keep your records, and it'll be, instead of a 2-day tournament, it'd be a 3-day tournament. But you would not miss, you'd actually miss less academic time because there wouldn't be regional play. You would enter your kids by the Friday before the state tournament. On Sunday, a group would meet to seed the tournament, to reflect the records, look at what is all there, seed the top 16, and then draw the rest, through a process of providing that. Everybody would know the draw by Tuesday, could plan for it, have a huge festival beginning of it. Every coach then could say, these were the 6 kids of ours that went to the state tournament. Now, there's obviously things that would have to be worked out through the process, but it would give everybody a chance to be in that particular process, no matter where they're at. If they're far western Kansas, far eastern Kansas, 6A, 3A, whatever level you're in, everybody would have kind of a little bit of a level playing field. And I think it would really be, it's based on what we did when I was growing up in Nebraska, when we went to our matches in covered wagons. But it had great appeal at that time, and I think it still has some appeal. So that's my goal before I die.
Well,
One goal. Before I die.
Okay, all right. I'm sure the bucket list is a little bit longer.
Bigger and better than that, but that's okay.
Well, and the thing is that change can be so difficult. But I tell you, one of the biggest complaints that I see from people, period, has to do with the focus so much that the state association has on geography. I understand why they have it, because the state is, some teams are scattered very far away from each other. But at the same time, what are we looking for? The goal for a state tournament is to get the best in it, right?
Right. And if every team gets to enter their 6, then the best will be there. And it may be a little bit of a different process of winnowing it out. But I would think, how cool for a place that gets to host to be able to have, for example, in 3-2-1A in the girls, there's 40 schools, to have 240 kids descending upon Topeka or wherever it might be over a 3-day period, and then there's some anticipation that builds up, and the matches might have to be a little bit shorter at the beginning, and the consolation might have to be pared down at the back, but everybody gets a chance, and out of that then comes a real sense of, man, we were able to get over on this. I know other states do this. I think there's a real chance that this could happen.
And this is, when you say everybody gets a chance, we're not looking at a situation of, hey, we want everybody to get a trophy. That's not what the goal is here.
It's not no child left behind. This is everybody gets an opportunity at the very beginning to be able to say, I was able to be there. And, I see all sorts of positive stuff from this, in that you don't have extra travel. You have one travel time that everybody goes to. It enriches the city because an event comes there. It enriches the atmosphere, the whole aura of the sport, and I think it really gives you a big time feel for that.
Well, I think even more than just everybody getting that experience, for me, I have a different perspective, and that is, I want to see the best, and I want to see the best go up against each other, and if the best end up not making it because their regional is so tough, to me, the system isn't working as well as it should.
Right. We had a situation 4 years ago when we were in 4A that was even worse than our girls in the fall. And there was a girl who, in our regional, there was a girl who finished 5th the year before at state, 8th, and then one of the top talented freshmen in the state. None of those kids made it to state, which is really, and the girl who finished 5th was a returning senior. And you're told geography is the reason, but then if that's the only reason, then that kind of stinks. I mean, it stinks for them to be put in a situation where it's life or death and I realize to a degree it is anyway, life or death at regional time, but maybe a little bit unnecessarily harshly. And if you can rectify this, let's do it.
I like the idea. Why don't you tell us what you think? You can reach me on Twitter at Joanna Chadwick or via email jchadwick@wichitaeagle.com. Coach, thank you so much for being here. I always appreciate talking to you, and you did a great job as usual.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here. Got me out of an hour of in-service.
That's the kind of person I am.